As I grew up, I had guidance from my parents in helping me learn how to act in public and relate to others. I learned values like being nice, treating people with respect, and accepting others' viewpoints at a very young age. As I grew older, I thought I had mastered many of those subjects, but as a conservative, apparently I was wrong. Thankfully, there is a group for misguided conservatives. The Democratic Party has transitioned their focus from being an alternative viewpoint in American politics to being the moral authority in America. I'm your host, Jared Dyson, and this is the Closet Conservative Podcast. If you are conservative and have ever wondered about anything in your life, all you need to do is look to the Democratic Moral Authority of America. That's right. That's what used to be the Democratic Party. You know, the party that gave alternative political viewpoints to conservatism. The Democratic Party has now become the moral authority on all issues in the United States. While they've been pushing this narrative since President Trump's election, the issue has taken full center stage in the wake of last weekend's shootings in both Texas and Ohio. The left's comments on white supremacy and white supremacists really took a totally new viewpoint over the past week. Trump spoke out against the attack in Texas and stated that white supremacy must be stopped and that he does not condone or support the attacks. On Wednesday, presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke called President Trump a white supremacist. However, O'Rourke wasn't alone. Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, and Pete Buttigieg all called President Trump a white supremacist. Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and Joe Biden each said that President Trump has supported white supremacy. Joe Scarborough over at NBC said that anyone supporting President Trump was supporting a white supremacist campaign and were directly supporting white supremacy. I guess that I never realized that supporting President Trump and conservative viewpoints on policies made me such a racist and a white supremacist. To support private health care, border laws, legal immigration, and standing against other various welfare programs the Democrats are proposing immediately causes you to be a white supremacist or a racist. On Wednesday, I got an even deeper education when Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez described that there is a difference between white supremacist and white supremacy on Twitter. The breakdown that she gives on the subject was truly enlightening and ridiculous all at the same time. I think it's worth looking at her tweets in a little more detail to help our conservative selves learn more about what is wrong with us. First of all, AOC calls out that white supremacy is like a virus, while supremacists have been completely overcome by the virus of white supremacy. Even if you aren't completely overcome by white supremacy, you can be under the influence of it because it lies dormant and exists on a larger scale than those who are simply overcome by the disease. She states that white supremacy is subconscious and that our nation has not been inoculated for the disease. She continues that white supremacy is our nation's original sin and has led to many of the other issues in our nation, such as mass incarceration and those chants of send her back. In her basic statement, AOC is saying that if you exist as an American and you are not completely woke, as they like to claim, you are infected with the virus of white supremacy. It is impossible to exist without being a woke leftist and not be infected by the white supremacy virus. Even if you aren't a full-on white supremacist, you are still infected if you aren't fully woke because it is dormant in you and has not been fully developed inside of you. It's not the fact that we are a nation of laws that has led to incarceration, but it's the fact that those who are not woke have fostered a nation built on white supremacy and enabled this oppressive environment. The statements she makes here are absolutely moronic, but she didn't stop there. To heal ourselves of white supremacy, expert AOC says that it will be very difficult because it requires us to confront ourselves. We have to go back and recognize the white supremacy in our own hearts and minds. We have to see it in our institutions and our subconsciousness and call it out in ourselves to start the healing process. She continues that it will require the discussing of white supremacy and racism more than white supremacists and racists. In other words, it's important to discuss that opposing any leftist viewpoint is white supremacy and racism. You must realize that in your own actions to begin the healing process, is what she's saying. I absolutely love her final tweet in the chain, however, and I really want to get to this point. In her final tweet, AO says that it is important to recognize that normal, good people are capable of aiding racism and white supremacy. Yes, even you, the moderate, who may agree with some of the things on the left, some of their ideas and some of their programs, you are most likely still supporting racism and white supremacy. In the last line of the tweet, though, she says something that that is completely contradictory. She states that it's not about pillorying the people, but rather recognizing the disease and ending a system that oppresses everyone. So, in other words, it's not about pulling those white supremacy supporting conservatives and independents out and shaming them. It's about recognizing that white supremacy exists in anyone that is not fully woke and ending the opportunity to have a system that allows a different viewpoint. I find the statements regarding pillorying very interesting because that has been the actions of AOC and the squad over the last few months. They have referred to Trump as a racist and a white supremacist. They have referred to Nancy Pelosi as a racist. And anyone else who has opposed their agenda, they have called them a white supremacist and a racist. In fact, the very response from everyone on the left has been to call anyone that's conservative or, as they say, not completely woke, a racist or white supremacist. It's hard to argue that you are not supporting or not in favor of pillory when you are constantly calling out anyone who disagrees with you as a white supremacist or a racist. We've already seen the Democrats plan to end the system for anyone who is not fully woke and force us into subjection. The plan is called socialism, and it's a movement that is becoming more popular every day in the United States. Polls earlier in the year showed that the interest in socialism in the United States was around 35%. More recent polls show the support of socialism hovering at just under 50%. The Democrats are continuing their push to end the system, as they would call it, called capitalism, which gives everyone a chance to succeed in favor of a socialist system that gives absolute power to those in rule. If you find yourself supporting conservative issues, which you probably do if you're listening to this podcast anyway, I just want you to know that you are not alone, and it is important that you continue to support those values. The Democratic Moral Authority of America, or Democratic Party for short, is seeking to label anyone with an opposing viewpoint as a racist and a white supremacist. Just the simple fact that you oppose them on any issue means that you are not completely woke, and most likely you are infected with the white supremacy virus that is so horrible that AOC refers to. Supporting conservative viewpoints is not a virus or a disease as AOC would suggest. She can say what she wants. She can call me a racist. She can call me a white supremacist for my views. In the end, I still support being a nation of laws and a nation that has conservative views and programs such as capitalism and work. She says that I'm infected with this horrible virus. You know, I've had a few viruses in my life, and usually a virus makes you feel bad. I don't know about you other conservatives out there, but as a conservative, I don't feel like I have a virus. I feel perfectly fine.
This is the Closet Conservative Podcast. All material copyright The Closet Conservative. Music courtesy of Greg Shields Music. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to receive all the latest episodes. We can also be found online at closetconservative.net or on Facebook and Twitter.